Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. I do want to thank Christian Weezer for sharing that information with us concerning education and, again, promoting our schools, securing our future from the Lee Pesky Learning Center in Boise, promoted by our friends at CapEd Credit Union. We appreciate their love of education. They love teachers. We love teachers.org. Joining us now is our great friend Todd Christensen from CapEd. And going back to what Christian said, echoing what Dr. Womack said, you know, it's so important for kids either to read or to be read to. And if you missed what Christian Weezer shared, he said if my kid wants to play the video games, then they've got to do an hour of reading before they get to do that. So many times we think technology, as wonderful as it is, replaces, you know, good old-fashioned book learning.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here this morning. Glad that you're here at the Lee Pesky Learning Center and with many great partners in the early childhood learning arena and being able to address this critically important topic, especially here in the great state of Idaho. And in this regard, you know, as Christian mentions of how do you engage your child and how do you have the appropriate parental responsibility, or in my wife and I's case, here in another month, we're going to be grandparents, and how do we participate in assisting young children to learn and grow. In our household, we've had very similar rules that you can participate in the video games and those activities or watching movies, but the priority is on the learning. That's the homework, it's the piano, it's taking care of, you know, whether it be scouting or other extracurricular activities. Those are all first, and then that recreation or entertainment is last. And so we see that it's critically important. You know, CapEd has been involved either through our credit union directly or through our foundation in supporting education. You know, we talk about it fairly regularly that over the last 83 years we've been supporting education. And here in the last, I'd say 5 to 6 years, we've really focused on how can we assist that K-12 system. And we've identified through our foundation the opportunity to support early childhood learning and being able to provide resources for those child care centers, the preschools, and then also to help create an environment where people can learn and understand the importance of early learning.
Well, and that's where Lee Pesky Learning Center comes in. Beth Oppenheimer joining us once again, Executive Director of the Idaho Association for Education of Young Children. And, you know, Todd, you're about ready to your kids, the emphasis on early childhood education.
You know, as we listen to the medical professionals and others share with us those formative years, even those formative moments as the brain is developing, and how do you take an opportunity to set a foundation for not only in the immediate future but the long term of the future of being able to be a lifelong learner. Those are foundational principle pieces that I've learned over the last several years, and I'm taking the opportunity to work with our children as well as with our future grandchildren.
Yes, and you know, we put a lot of emphasis on the parent and the parent's ability and responsibility to work with our young children. One of the programs that we are so fortunate to run with the support of CapEd is a program called Ready for Kindergarten, and oftentimes new parents, they don't know what they don't know, right? And so, you know, most of us have been parents, and they don't provide a book with you when you leave the hospital of how to actually do this.
An invoice, but not a book.
We get an invoice, not a book. And so one of the programs that we offer is Ready for Kindergarten, and that is a program that works with parents and really teaches them how to, we call it play with purpose with our young children. And so they are taught skills to just everyday activities that they're doing with their young children and how to incorporate learning into play. And it's a really fantastic, it's a program for parents with children 0 to 5 years old, and helps them with the reading and playing with purpose.
Well, and, you know, when we talk about Lee Pesky, how big of a partner are they for both of you guys?
Oh, Lee Pesky is a huge partner. You know, they are the ones that actually bring the professional development to our teachers who are working with our young children when they are in childcare and preschool. Their professional development that they offer is the best in the country,
Todd?
For us as a critical partner with Lee Pesky and providing the resources to be out into the community, to be able to be out with the child care facilities, the preschools, and engage those professionals who are dedicated to their profession and giving them the resources and a better understanding of their role. You know, we look at kindergarten, the Idaho Way, or early childhood learning, Idaho Way. In this case, we have a lot of great partners that are the preschools, the child care facilities, and how can we give them tools and resources to be a part of those formative moments. You know, oftentimes we'll hear that, we just don't want to drop off our children to be taken care of during the day, but we also want them to be engaged in active play and learning throughout the day.
Yeah, and I think it's important to also remember that there's no one size fits all. Communities are different across Idaho, across the country. Parent skills are different across the country. Our teachers' skills are different, especially across Idaho. So wherever, and Kevin, we talked about this a little bit earlier, the environment where the children are is what's so critical. So whether they're at home with a parent, our parent needs the skills and knowledge to be able to work with our young children. In childcare providers need those skills and knowledge in preschool, et cetera.
I want to go back to they give you an invoice but not a handbook. Any advice, since we are focused on early childhood education here, it can be a very intimidating task for anybody, whether you're young or not so young as a parent or grandparent.
Exactly. You know, we talk about the critical literacies, and those critical literacies develop over a lifetime. And, you know, this morning we're really focused on early childhood learning and developing those foundational pieces. But as young individuals advance and become, adolescents and early or young adults, of continuing that learning. And one of those pieces that we like to talk about is around financial literacy and introducing that as part of that learning and that play. You know, as you go to the grocery store, to be able to talk with your young children about the cost of food and helping them develop their math skills, how to count coin, how to count coin or count the dollar bill. You know, in today's environment, we easily pull out the debit card, but without pulling out the wallet and pulling out the coins and the others, you don't have that opportunity to interact around the math aspects of life.
And that's where Camp Cash Ed comes in.
Camp Cash Ed, you know, we spoke about it last week a little bit. This is an opportunity for 11 to 14-year-olds here in the Treasure Valley to join us for one or possibly both of our financial literacy youth camps. They'll be coming up on June 25th through the 27th, and then June 23rd through the 25th. So they're a 3-day camp where they're engaged with instruction around entrepreneurship, money skills, business management, again, for ages 11 to 14. It's a $75 camp. We partner with the Idaho Council on Economic Education through Boise State. And individuals who are interested can register. I know last week we shared information. We hadn't yet had the registration open, but that registration is now open, and they can find it at caped.com.
And that's from 11 to 14?
Ages 11, 14, and it's a camp that will take place from 9 in the morning until 3 in the afternoon.
That's a lot of money learning.
That is a lot of if I can get that out this morning, that is a lot of money learning. That's a tongue twister this morning, but an opportunity to help our youth in our community have those principles around financial literacy.
Back to both of you. For people that are just moving into the Treasure Valley, final question here quickly, that are, it's intimidating moving to a new state. What would you say as far as getting their kid the proper guidance?
Sure. So on our website, idahoaeyc.org, there is a parent resource page that you can visit, and it gives resources in terms of how to look for quality childcare, resources ready for kindergarten, how to play with purpose, as we say, with your child, lots of different resources. You can also visit Lee Pesky's website for parent resources as well.
This is a welcoming community, and those who are new to the community reach out, and the community will embrace and welcome you.
Thank you both.
Absolutely.
Thank you so
Appreciate
much,
it.
Kevin.
Joining us now is the president of the Idaho State Board of Education, Debbie Critchfield. President Critchfield, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, when we take a look at education, obviously it's very important to you and so many folks in Idaho. Your thoughts on where we rank and where we're going as far as the future of education. I know that and college football seem to be our two big topics here.
As with the board at times, too. I always believe that there's more to the story than some of the data points that are put out there. And one of the things that we have work to do is to really utilize the efficiencies that can be found within our system. We are one of just 2 other states that have a system, one board that oversees all of education for the state. And with that comes the ability to really impact or have policies that impact outcomes. And that is something for the last several years on the heels of our former governor's task force. Now we've got Governor Little with the same type of trajectory to make a long-range plan. We believe we can use the moving parts in a way that will really help us.
Well, we take a look at, and we caught you with our friend Mark Johnson the other day on Channel 7 about obviously the high cost of tuition. It's very good business for those of us in the talk show business, man, because it gives us something to talk about. The affordability of higher education, when we were going to school, it was the same issue. It seems to be that issue is not relative, but of major importance today. And just dovetailing on that, kids are getting more student loan debt, and now the tuition increases are going up. I know you're personally and professionally very concerned about this.
Absolutely. Similar to any other profession or household, the cost of doing business at our institutions have gone up over the years and have not, and legislative appropriations have not been able to keep pace with inflationary costs, and our colleges and universities are limited in how they are able to collect funds. And so each year when they come and, which is a yearly request on their behalf, they come and present the areas in which they've seen additional costs, how they're looking to meet them. A few of the things that we have requested and asked our institutions to do, go through a process of program prioritization. Where are ways that you can cut costs? Are the dollars serving those areas that have the best outcomes in the programs in the fields? We have also asked our colleges and universities to look at ways that they can reduce costs for students already. One of the big focus areas is textbook affordability. How do we reduce, if not eliminate, the textbook needs, particularly for those students involved in general education? So we try to find this balance of, we know that you need more, and student fees and tuition are a part of that, but what is happening on the institutional side to keep those costs down?
How successful do you think that will be as far as the universities being receptive to that?
I believe that they are receptive. They get the same criticisms that anybody does. Why is it so much more? And it was about an average of $400 per year as an increase. There are things that the institutions seek to do to, not explain why they have that, but to demonstrate as far as the information, student enrollment, and all of the factors that go into these requests. And I know that they're not jumping up and down every year to say we need 4% or 5% more than what was allocated. They go through their process as well, their review process, come to the board. We we have a great discussion, because no one is looking to put more of a burden on students.
Well, that is the challenge, of course. We all remember being young and fired up about things, and the kids and their parents and grandparents are certainly fired up about this.
Well, and as I pointed out with the textbooks, we've asked them to look for other ways to alleviate some of these pressures. One of the ways that also helps in this overall system approach is the impact of dual credit classes, with the legislative allocation for high school students of $4,125 towards dual credit courses. We really encourage high school students, where and when appropriate, and what they can handle, to take advantage of those courses, so that they have some of these college classes, particularly the general education courses, under their belt before they leave high school.
Fair enough. Debbie Critchfield, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
There we have it, the State Board of Education President Debbie Critchfield joining us. Kevin Miller, you're listening to KIDO Talk Radio. And I'm Kevin Miller reminding you, Miller's Mission begins next week, where we ask you to give a penny, don't be a bad penny. I know that's a little weak, but we would love for you to help us help the Boise Rescue Mission. For more information, go to KIDOTalkRadio.com. Find out how you can help the Boise Rescue Mission make a difference. We'll be living at the Walmart in Nampa, Garrity, and Franklin Boulevard. Our home away from home, thanks to Team Mazda Subaru, Camping World, and the Boise Rescue Mission. Talking about education here at the Lee Pesky Learning Center in Boise. We're joined by Alyssa Townsend. She's a teacher in CUNA. And Dr. Shalene French joining us, the superintendent of the Caldwell Schools. Good to have you both with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. French, we'll start with you. Obviously, early childhood education, very important, and Caldwell has made some moves by addressing early learning. That must be easier said than done.
It has. You're correct. It has been a work in progress, working with the YCAP Head Start and the YMCA program. So we've created the Caldwell Collaborative and created a preschool program that provides high-quality teaching, instruction, curriculum. We partner with Lee Pesky Foundation, and through this collaborative, we're able to offer preschool to over 200 preschoolers in the Caldwell School District.
And are you seeing any results? I know it's very early.
Well, we started the preschool last year, so last January, and when we had those children who were in the preschool program came into our kindergarten classes this fall, they were they were more prepared for kindergarten as reported by our teachers. They were ready to learn. They knew their alphabet letters, which is one of the indicators of kindergarten readiness, and that is an important start.
Alyssa, that is a challenge if you advocates of early childhood education will say you need to be prepared for kindergarten. You have a lot of us, perhaps a little bit more miles on the odometer going, kindergarten's supposed to prepare you for first grade at the classroom level. Can you speak to, having children ready to go at such an early age? As we've said to Dr. French, I'll repeat myself, it's easier said than done. I mean, sometimes we can't get adults to pay attention. I can't imagine how challenging that is for children.
Yeah, they come to me in a very wide range in kindergarten. We have kids that come in reading, and we have kids that come in having never held a pencil, having no idea how to recognize their name, things like that. And so that provides a challenge for the teacher for sure. We have students that are ready to socialize, so it's not necessarily the academic piece as well, but we have ones that are comfortable and ones that have to be taken out of their parents' arms and crying, for the first few days, maybe weeks,
right,
while we get used to that adjustment.
How do you get used to that adjustment?
The first couple of weeks are a lot of patience, and my husband reminds me every year that we do this every year, and these kids make incredible gains, and it's totally worth it the first couple of weeks, but they are... it's incredible what that they can achieve, and those that have had exposure do incredible things early on. Some of them that haven't had exposure to social environments or academic language or structure take a little bit longer.
Well, how do parents get through that first day? Any advice?
Some of them are very excited about that first day.
I can tell you're getting emotional. You're having flashbacks here.
This is I love that first day.
You must love it because you continue to do it. Yes,
16 years. Yep. But some of them really love it, and some of them have a hard time. I had a student this year that had never left his mother's side once, hadn't had a family member watch him, hadn't had a babysitter, anything, and mom paced back and forth down my hallway for about 2 hours, so she had a harder time with it and that compounded his hard time, but it just depends on the family and they're comfortable with the situation.
Indeed. Dr. French, we go back to this. The state of Idaho, this is a point of contention, and you've been at the heart of this, advocating for your school district in Caldwell, but the money. I mean, if we had a money tree, we'd have programs for everything, just getting the funds available for districts like yours or CUNA or others.
Well, and that's where the collaborative came into play. We aren't funded for preschool. We do receive funding for our developmental preschool, so children who have been identified with a learning disability. So we are able to provide preschool that way to a few students, 60 students. But we have more need, and we have a desire from our community to provide quality preschool options, and we have, through this collaborative, we have joined forces and joined those resources so that we are focused on our professional development, that through YCAP, through the YMCA, we're all working together. That is the only way we've been able to provide the preschool for over 200 children this past year. And then through Lee Pesky, we're able to do an outreach to the private preschools in Caldwell so that we can work together as a community to provide even just a better quality preschool, a better start for these children before they come into school.
All right. Back to you.
I'm ready.
Any more advice on that first day?
The first day.
Your grandparent,
The first day.
parent.
Oh,
I mean, you're leaving their kid with nothing personal, the likes of you.
Yeah.
I think you're a nice person.
I really am, and they know.
Okay.
They learn to know that I will love their children, but really just let them know how exciting it's going to be. Like, it's our job as early childhood educators to build that love of learning. That's the most important thing for us. Is you're going to have fun, it's going to be exciting, and we're going to be so proud of what you achieve.
Right. Well, thank you both. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're listening to Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Good morning, Maggie. And we're joined by Patricia Kempthorne, former First Lady of the great state of Idaho, founder of Twiga, the Twiga Foundation, board member, and Parents as Teachers. And we were going over what we were going to discuss, and I said, well, I think you can handle this, ma'am. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Now, I'm sorry, go ahead.
This is my favorite topic, so I'm excited.
All right. When we take a look at Twiga, what does that mean? What is that? What is your foundation?
Our foundation, the mission of our foundation is family consciousness at home, in the workplace, and in the community. And Twiga is actually the word for giraffe in Swahili. And the reason that we picked that as a name is because the giraffe has the largest heart of any land mammal, and it was explained to me that in certain parts of the world, you take a symbol of a giraffe with you into a meeting to remember to bring your heart in with your head.
Right.
So we wanted to make sure that in our discussions about families, our heart and our head were both there.
Do we have that when it comes to education?
I hope so, and I know sometimes we do, yes.
Early childhood education, we seem to be expanding that again and again, and we're hearing about its importance today at Lee Pesky. Your thoughts on where we are as a state? Obviously, you're working on it.
I've been working on it about 35 years, and I will say we have made some progress, but there's lots to do. There's nothing more important. It's the foundation of everything.
When we take a look at, I guess, the role of education, some folks have said in the past, ma'am, that we want the school to do more and more, and the role of schools have expanded when we're talking about breakfast and lunches and such. What about the role of a parent? When we talk to educators, they always say the parent is the key in education.
And I agree. The parent is the first and best teacher for our children. And the parents themselves, though, have all kinds of things happening in their life, and I think it's really working together. That's where in our mission statement we talk about the family consciousness at home, in the workplace, in the community, because all that ties together. But the parents are the most important, and we need to work and give them the resources that they need to be able to be that first best teacher.
Now, how does that work? I mean, you've forgotten more about state government, state agencies than most of us will ever know. How do you get those things accomplished, getting more programs funded? Because everybody thinks more money, more taxes, that sort of thing.
And I think that's it. And we all think we're competing for the same money, and I think the money is out there. It's about where our priorities are. Now, you got to know, I'm coming from a place that says the most important thing we can do is those first 5 years where the cognitive brain development takes place, where the parents and children working with their caregivers are building what's going to happen for the rest of their lives. So when the work I do with Parents as Teachers, which is a home visiting program out of Missouri, was started 35 years ago. And they saw what was happening as children coming into school at the kindergarten level it was unequal. They weren't in the same place. And they started this home visiting through the school system. Now, it doesn't happen that way everywhere. We're now in 50 states in 5 countries. And it's different organizations will do it in a different way, but what we're really doing is supporting and lifting up the parents, giving them the support they need to really get to know their children better and how to make their family stronger.
Does that work with the homeschool method here? We have a lot of folks that homeschool kids that listen to us and are always looking for guidance and you see some of the results of these kids. I mean, they're going to college, 3 or 4. Yeah.
They're doing a great job. And I think that's part of it, too. And there is some disconnect sometimes with homeschooling. What does that really mean? I think what home visiting is and homeschooling would be a great partnership. I can't say that it is always connected, but it's that same thing. It's the parents having the resources to recognize their role in helping their children grow and learn. Homeschooling has been a very positive thing for very many families. Home visitation can help those families who don't have those resources, who can have somebody come to their home once a month, once a week, to help them understand the development. We found it in the need for some screening, some recognition in the early childhood where we can help children address some of those issues early before they ever get into the school system. But really, it's also showing parents that each family has a gift. Each family is who it is. We want to help them be the best family that they can be.
What are the consequences of no home visitations, no early childhood education? Again, not that I'd ever be labeled as a cynic. You would have people say, well, I didn't need this. Why do my kids?
Well, and life is different. I'm, again, trying not to get on my soapbox.
We like the soapbox here. It's okay.
I know. I mean, we are in a different place than we were. In the agrarian society, when you were going out and picking up the eggs from the chicken, and they're doing that now again,
right,
actually, but you were learning to count. You were learning to understand things from the very beginning. The kids and the parents worked together day in and day out. There was a learning going on. Now it's getting the kids ready to get to school or to daycare, and the parents get out the door because they're working a couple jobs and they got to get there. And there's this hecticness going on. And if we can help the parents stop and breathe, and as a parent educator, we come in and we help them recognize, hey, you're doing a pretty good job.
Right.
And
parents are pretty tough on themselves.
They are, and the pressures. The world is different than it was. I mean, you've got to get to where you need to be. Whether you're working 2 or 3 jobs to make ends meet, or whether you're even at the higher level where you're expected to work 60 or 80 hours a week, your kids still need you to be there. So.
Exactly. Patricia Kempthorne joining us. Kevin Miller in the morning here, KIDO Talk Radio. So, are you looking for people to help, or how does that work? How does TWIGA work?
Well, I think what TWIGA, we do several things. We do a interactive block play experience with parents and children. This is a real basic little tool that says if
now you have parents doing block play. I mean,
parents
how does that
on the floor with block play with their kids,
okay,
non-interlocking blocks, because the research has shown that children between the ages of 8 months and 8 years who
right,
play with these blocks do better in STEM education and in math and science later on. It's all about that brain development in those early years. Children are learning whatever it is they're learning, and if we can create the best environments and give parents the tools to know how to be their best teacher, that's the best thing we can do for kids.
State government, again, you're very familiar with it.
Mm-hmm.
What about the governor? How is he and how has his administration been a help?
The governor's great, and one of the things I love about what's happening is he's listening. He's listening to the people here that you've been talking to all this morning. We've sat down and talked about it. But he gets it. Even as a legislator, as other things as he's done, he's been out there in the communities, and he knows what they're looking for. So he's listening. I'm not exactly sure where he's going to go, but I think we're in a really good place and a better place than we've been.
What would you say to young parents? I always love the power of radio where you're in your car, you might be speaking to 2 or 3 people, but really that one-on-one communication that are challenged, that are frustrated. They've been blessed to have children. Our friend Todd Christensen going to be a grandfather. And all of a sudden, it's very intimidating. You get the bills, but you don't get the handbook.
No, you don't get them. But trust yourself too. It's relational. It's loving your children. And the thing that's different today than it was with me is they want to know something. All they have to do is Google it. There's lots of information out there. There's lots of great organizations like the ones you've talked to today, the Pesky Center, Idaho AEYC. The information is there. What's great about the kids today, I say kids today, the new parents today, is they're used to looking it up if they don't know.
Right.
And they'll go find the information, and it is there.
Finally, as someone who has dedicated herself to public service of the great state of Idaho, whether it's here or in D.C., are you surprised at just how big and how the growth continues in this state?
Oh, yeah. I've lived here all my life, and
Sure.
I'm surprised. It's different, and I'm happy if it's the thing to do, but I also think one of the things that we have to do as a community is embrace it, but help take care of it too. We have to be sure we're on both sides of this. And remember, when my husband started as mayor, their growth wasn't the issue.
Right.
We needed to get something started. Well, they've done a really good job.
Yeah, for everybody
Yeah.
right now. Patricia Kempthorne, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Thank you. We'll go to Tanya J. Powers joining us now on KIDO Talk Radio. Don't forget Miller's Mission coming up. We're very excited about that. We'll get to Tanya in 2 seconds. Before that, though, I do want to remind everybody we are going to be living at the Walmart Garrity and Franklin. We need folks to join us on the Penny Patrol. We're looking for good pennies and bad pennies. You can drop them off beginning Monday at 6 a.m. Join myself, Larry Gebert, the guys from Team Mazda Subaru, Reverend Bill and his crew from the Boise Rescue Mission. It's going to be a great time. Here we have at the end of Game of Thrones. Your thoughts, ma'am?
Well, it wasn't just the Game of Thrones that's ending. You have the Big Bang Theory that it has had its series finale last night, not just the season, but the whole series. Apparently, the fans on social media seemed pretty happy with the way it ended. I've talked with some of them this morning who have also been, watching it and have been with it the whole time. 275, I think, episodes of it, and they seem pretty happy with the way it's turned out. Now, I don't know if Game of Thrones fans are going to feel the same way Sunday night when that one ends.
Yeah, I'd rather talk about Game of Thrones.
You're not a Big Bang Theory fan?
Never saw it. Never really got it.
So that's a no.
But that explains a lot about me. I mean, not that I'm right, but, for entertainment purposes only. You know what I'm saying. I mean, very popular show. I mean, this thing went out, at the top or near the top, got a couple spinoffs, but Game of Thrones fans are not pumped up about. But if you don't have HBO, does it really matter? Again, tremendous viewership, but you have to have pay TV, or you got to get the HBO app. It's fascinating that so many people are into this, considering, unlike the Big Bang Theory, that it's available, over the air. This thing you have to pay to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, honestly, I can tell you as a fan of it, it would. To me, it was worth it to get it because it was such a good story. I'm not sure that if I was starting with the 8th season, I would feel the same way about it. I'll be honest, because there's a lot of fans who have not exactly been enamored of the show this season, only because of the difference in the writing.
Indeed. So, who's your pick to win the Iron Throne?
I don't know. I really, really don't know. I don't even want to speculate at this point.
Oh, come on.
No, I seriously don't know. It could go several different ways.
Tanya J. Powers, we appreciate you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
You're listening to Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Thank you, Larry. KIDO Talk Radio, Kevin Miller in the morning. Martin Balbin joining us, Program Director with Preschool the Idaho Way. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Kevin.
Yeah, we take a look at preschool. We were just talking about Game of Thrones moments ago with Tanya J. Powers. It always is a hot take when we're thinking about preschool in Idaho. Many people say, look, it's tough to fund people pre-kindergarten. Your thoughts, sir? We've heard how important it is this morning.
Yeah, we're hoping our preschool work turns out better than King's Landing did, certainly.
Right.
Yeah, we're really focused at Idaho AEYC on figuring out a way to forge together some preschool programs for the state, and that includes funding them. We are working on this privately right now, and some of that work kind of came about through some statewide research that we did because, at the Idaho AEYC, we are very obviously, in the box for early learning, but we wanted to figure out what Idahoans thought. So we did some statewide polling, and it came back in booming support of the state making investments into this arena. And through that research, though, we also found that the demand in a lot of areas across Idaho has driven folks to some very innovative approaches through local collaborations. And folks across Idaho are just really finding ways to braid and blend funds together to increase the amount of high-quality preschool seats in their area. And we wanted to kind of pour a little bit of fuel on that fire with some work we're doing.
Well, we're always about pouring some gasoline on the fire. Let's talk the big question here. You've, education's a great idea. Everything's a great idea. It's just trying to find, Martin, as you've kind of alluded to, the funds to pay for it. And people are going, look, I don't want to – look, we hear this with everybody. I don't want to pay for other people's kids.
Right.
So you're there. I mean, I'm sure you hear it quite a bit.
Yeah, we hear it. We hear it a bit, not as often as you would think, but we take that really seriously. And so, what I would say is that we're really, really paying dearly for not investing in this area already. We know that high-quality early learning programs save us money later down the system in many, many areas. So you look at remedial programs in the K through 12 system. They're really expensive, and they succeed not as often as we would like them to be. That doesn't mean they're not worth doing. But certainly if you're kind of curbing some of these issues earlier in the process, you're putting yourself in a position to spend less money on those programs later on when those gaps aren't as large. Another area where we see massive savings is in our criminal justice system. I often just tell people, invest in early learning, build preschools, or build prisons. Pick one.
Why don't you expand on that?
Yeah, we're at this stage. I'm sure many of your listeners are following the exploration of almost $500 million prison that we're thinking about in Idaho because we have this need to expand that. And what we know about early learning options is that there's a direct link between high-quality early learning and folks not being caught up in the criminal justice system later in life. And so for us, it's a real pay now or pay later situation where if we can figure out some of these issues and get the social and emotional and the setup for these kids coming into our education system, they emerge later and they see much more success in life. And, we're paying less to deal with some of the issues that come up in that system, too.
Now, when we take a look at the funding, many folks, Martin, would say, and look, I appreciate your passion for this because it's not easy, but we can't even fund the schools that we have right now. We've got Mayor Tammy saying, Kevin Miller, the state needs to do a better job of helping cities, basically every city, it seems, in Idaho with the fastest growing population, funding the schools, struggle to keep up with the regular schools, adding another layer when we can't even afford what we have. So would that be the state's issue that, the state has a big increase this year, but still you got levies and bonds rolling, Martin?
Yeah, this is going to be a patchwork of solutions that come forward, I think. When we look at, so I definitely feel like there needs to be an increased role for the state and getting involved in funding education programs, specifically early education, to set the stage for this for some of the reasons I mentioned earlier. But also if you think about the ways that we can look into funding these programs, locals are tackling it in a lot of ways. So we've got private funds, public-private partnerships that are coming together to address these issues. And Idahoans are really, really innovative when it comes to figuring out ways and figuring out solutions in their own communities. They just got to be in the driver's seat to do it. And so when we talk about investments, we're really talking about forging a way forward that funds Idahoan solutions that are driven by locals on the ground. And I think there's a lot of potential in some of the ways that we have seen collaboratives deal with this across the state. And as for the funding, I think for us this is about priorities because we certainly have money going out the door to things like the criminal justice system, where if we put some upfront investments into this, we could do this in a way that was revenue neutral and didn't hit everybody's pocketbooks later on.
Martin, anything else you'd like to share with us today, sir?
No, I think that
Hold on, Martin, so we can hear you. Go
yeah,
ahead.
we're really, really excited about some of the program work that we've got going out the state. We have forged together some planning grants. We have about 14 planning grants across the state of Idaho that are allowing locals to be in a position to plan their own preschool programs. And this is a private program that we're running, and encourage folks to check that out. We have statewide representation. All the geographic diversity you would expect from rural to urban areas. And, folks are figuring this out across Idaho. And I think this topic is going to, increase greatly as we continue in the years, because the need is there, and the will is certainly there with Idahoans to figure out a solution.
Will
here.
the funding be there?
I mean, I think God willing it will. We're really hoping that as we put together some of these solutions at a local basis, that decision makers see the value in setting up our families and our kids to succeed, and that they take some of the bold leaps that we're going to need to take to set the stage for their whole lives.